We're taking a trip back to Haddonfield just to see if it's actually cursed. Let's get into it. Back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. Today we're going to head back to Haddonfield to see if it actually is cursed. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, or as it is originally titled, and I actually saw a trailer with this title you can find on YouTube, Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers. The production of this film was a huge dumpster fire, and it's stuff of legend by this point, but let's get into it. Now, this came out September 25th of 1995. It's rated R like the rest of the films. Had a budget of $5 million, and upon release it made $15 million. It's an hour and 27 minutes long. This one, I'm going to play my cards a little up front. This one has a little bit of special meaning in my heart because this is the first Halloween film I actually got to see theatrically. Up until that point, I only saw them on TV or through rental. I actually got to see this opening night on that September 29th. My buddy Chuck, my buddy Joey, my buddy Rich. And, you know, it was great because it was my first Halloween film to get to see on the big screen, and then I got to see the rest of them on the big screen since then. But that's why this one holds a little bit of special meaning to my heart. We'll see how much I actually enjoyed it. I just rewatched this last night on that Scream Factory Blu-ray, which the transfer is pretty damn good on that Blu-ray. I know the 4K just dropped in that box set. Now, after the middling success and not very well received by the fans, Part 5, Halloween franchise was kind of in limbo. Eventually, in the 90s, Mustafa Akkad put the rights up to create a bidding war between studios of who gets the rights to release the next Halloween film. Now, the bidding war came down to New Line Cinema, which kind of would be the obvious choice for this film, or Miramax, which was owned by the Weinstein brothers at that time. Unfortunately for Mustafa Akkad, he probably regrets it after the way this production went, Miramax won out the bidding war, and they went into business with them, and they brought in a young filmmaker named Joe Chappelle. After this, Joe Chappelle would go on to do reshoots on Hellraiser 4 Bloodline. You will not see his name listed as director, though, because the original director was so pissed off with the Weinsteins' mess with that film that he wanted his name removed, and the Weinsteins had Joe Chappelle come in and do some reshoots for him. And then he would go on to do a film called Phantoms with Ben Affleck in it and Rose McGowan. It's an adaptation of a Dean Koontz book, which I've read. I actually liked that movie. I saw it in the theaters. It didn't do very well at the box office, but I kind of dig that film. So yeah, he directed a few other things after this as well. Daniel Farrens came in to write this film. He was a huge Halloween fan, and he approached Mustafa Akkad about writing the next film, and his goal was to bridge all the films up to that point except -3 and try to explain the tattoo on Michael's wrist, the Man in Black, all the shit that was set up in Part 5 that nobody knew what to do with. So he came up with the Curse of Thorn and the cult aspect, which they dive heavily into in this film. Now, in this film, we got the ever-loyal Donald Pleasance playing Dr. Loomis. Sadly, this was his last theatrical film, and when he went back to do reshoots, which we'll talk about later, he had already passed away, so he was unavailable for reshoots. Paul Rudd came in to play Tommy Doyle. This is actually his first theatrical film. Clueless did come out before this film, but this was the first film he ever shot. We got Marianne Hagen plays Kara Strode, and Mitchell Ryan plays Dr. Wynn. Yes, that's the Dr. Wynn from the original Halloween movie where we've seen him arguing with Loomis after Michael escapes about, well, he doesn't even know how to drive a car. And Loomis goes, well, he did very well last night. Maybe send him around and gave him lessons. The same character, just different actor. And Mitchell Ryan was in Lethal Weapon as a general. He was in Magnum Force with Clint Eastwood. He was in a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies. He had a very long career with a lot of credits. Sadly, he had semi-recently just passed away. Now, Daniel Harris did not come back to play Jamie Lloyd. We have J.C. Brandy playing Jamie Lloyd in this film. And according to rumors, it was all over $5,000. Dimensions didn't think Daniel Harris was worth it, which is unfortunate, and they brought in a different actress. And right in the beginning of the film, we definitely go deep into the cult aspect. We see Jamie tied to an altar in this ruin area that we find out later is beneath Smith's Grove. And she's pregnant. She's about to give birth. And they're performing this ritual, and then this nurse comes in, gives Jamie her baby, releases her from her bounds, her binding, and she tries to get away. Michael shows up, kills the nurse, chases Jamie, kills another dude, ends up killing Jamie, but she hid the baby in a bathroom, and that baby will come back later, although I don't know how it waited that long for anybody to find it until Tommy finds it, but we're getting there. We're reintroduced to Tommy Doyle. He's listening to this shock jock on the radio. They actually wanted Howard Stern to play the Barry Sims role, but Howard Stern turned him down, and he went to the gentleman in this film was in Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original movie. Yes, he was. And anyway, Tommy gets reintroduced. We're introduced to Dr. Loomis, and Dr. Wynn goes to see Dr. Loomis, and we hear before Jamie's killed, she calls into the radio station trying to get help. Tommy hears her, and so does Loomis, and then we're reintroduced to this next morning. We're introduced to the Strodes, Kara Strode, her dad John, her mom, she has a little boy, and her brother. They're living in the original Myers house, and her dad is a realtor, just like Laurie's dad in the original Halloween. And her son's having nightmares and hearing voices, just like we hear later on. We find out that Michael was hearing voices when he was a little boy. And they kind of explain it as it goes. Kara's back home, living at home because she's going to college, a local community college, and the kids are trying to bring back Halloween has been banned since the last film. Sorry, I said 78, but since the last film. And they're trying to bring it back. They think it's ridiculous. Michael Myers gone. Nobody's seen him since 89. It's time to go on with their lives and bring Halloween back. And basically what happens is Michael kills the mother. Loomis is on the trail. We have betrayal. Tommy and Kara get together because Tommy knows what's going to happen to her family. He tries to warn them. Michael does show up and ends up killing the brother, his girlfriend. The father gets killed in spectacular fashion thanks to John Carl Buechler and his boys. A makeup effects artist did all the makeup effects for this film and the mask, which is the best mask since the original film up to this point. By far, it's way better than 4 and 5. We find out that Wynn is running this cult out of the hospital, and they've been shepherding Michael and taking care of him all these years, and they've brought him back because they want to sacrifice Jamie's baby, and Kara's little boy is going to take over for Michael. That's why Wynn's been talking to him and whispering to him and visiting him, apparently. And we get that final scene in the hospital. They take Kara. Dr. Loomis and Tommy go to the hospital. Michael kills a bunch of people in a spectacular operating room scene and a hallway chase scene, which I love, which was a reshoot. So was the hospital operating room scene. That was a reshoot as well. And at the end, they kill Michael. They think they do by injecting him with this green goo and beating the shit out with a lead pipe. And they take off in the Jeep. And at the end, it goes to black and we hear Loomis screaming. And then it goes to a pumpkin and in memory of Donald Pleasance, and that's the end of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the theatrical cut. Last year, I reviewed the producer's cut, and the producer's cut I actually like a little bit more, just because I like the more subdued nature of that cut, and it's not as amped up, but this one does have its charms, so let's go into the positives. I think the cast is pretty good. I like Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle. He's an oddball for sure, but I like his character. Marianne Hagen, I think, is good as Kara. Donald Pleasance is good, but he's definitely an older man here, and you could tell it. This is the first time where Loomis actually looks like he's incapable of taking on Michael. And it's sad that he passed away. He wasn't around for the reshoots, although there was a lot of infighting on the set because there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen, as it were. But I like the way it's shot. I think it's really stylish. Even this version of it, it's amped up to 11. The score's amped up to 11. Alan Howarth came back to do the score, but it's more of in this version, it's more of a rock score. I mean, there's a lot of guitar riffs in with the Halloween music. I love the mask. I like the gore effects. They definitely go over the top. The ending, I like the cult aspect. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing this go to its natural ending. But this movie was so botched, I can see why they dumped it and went on to H2O for the next film. But I like the cult aspect of it. I really do. It was somewhere different to go. It intrigued me. Cult stuff kind of does intrigue me anyway by my nature. But this is a mess of a film at the end of the day. Besides all of those positives, the way it's shot, the way it looks, feels like Halloween. It feels like fall. They actually shot this in fall in Salt Lake City. And the Myers house in this film looks a lot closer to the original Myers house, although not exactly. Not a big-ass Victorian mansion from Part 5, so they've rectified that as well. Where the problem is the editing. It's a mess of a film, narrative-wise. Once we get into some of the nuts and bolts, a lot of the scenes, especially the ending, doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all. There's a lot of plot holes here. Not that the producer's cut doesn't have them as well. There's just a lot of problems here, and that was because of the behind-the-scenes problems. The vision for the film, what Mustafa Akkad had originally and what Daniel Farron's intended, it got really messed up because the Weinsteins exerted their power over the production and basically pushed Mustafa Akkad off to the side. They had really nothing to do with the production. They took it back to LA after they were finished shooting and reshot the hospital operating scene. Although I like that scene, it's a reshoot. The hallway chase scene's a reshoot. That woman in the cell that says that thing to Tommy Doyle is a reshoot, and there's a bunch of reshoots. There's like 20 minutes of new footage from the reshoots. More gore. They brought John Carl Beaker back to go bigger on the gore as well. So if you've ever seen the producer's cut, there's a lot less gore. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes problems. There's no wonder this film is a kind of a mess narratively. Again, it starts off strong. In the producer's cut, you get more answers on the cult. Here you don't. A lot of it's cut out to get onto the slashing, which I don't mind. This is like the MTV version of Halloween, but I still enjoy this version. There's a lot of issues here, and that's tied to the behind-the-scenes problems. But I still enjoy it at the end of the day. Is it the best Halloween film we got? No, it's probably not even the top 4 or 5, but I still enjoy that film a lot. It's a quick watch, hour 27 minutes long. Again, like I said, the original title was Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers. You can still find the trailer with that title on it on YouTube if you want to track it down. Peter Jackson was approached to direct this film. He turned them down as well. But other than that, I still enjoy this film. Again, it was the first Halloween film I got to see theatrically, so it's a blast to rewatch it. It's one of the sequels I watch every year, only because I switch on and off. One year I'll watch the theatrical, the next year I'll watch the producer's cut. It's a movie that I have nostalgia for, and on that alone, nostalgia can be a powerful thing. But at the end of the day, it's not a great film. It's a mess. There's a lot of things I like about it, and there's a lot of problems here. So at the end of the day, I would give that one a 6.5 out of 10. It's enjoyable. I think it's well made, except for the choppiness of the editing because of all the behind-the-scenes problems. But at the end of the day, 6.5 out of 10 for Halloween 6. What are your thoughts on that sequel? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Share this video. Greatly appreciate that. I'll be back soon with my out-of-theater reaction for Halloween Ends. There's some more Halloween goodness coming, more reviews. I hope you're having a great October thus far. Until next time, bye.